Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Learning Impact 2021 opening keynote speaker. I'm Sandra DeCastro, and I will serve as your IMS host for this session, along with Kara Jenkins. We'll be monitoring the live Q&A for your questions and comments at the end of this Dr. Zhao's presentation. Today, we are very pleased to have Yong Zhao as our opening keynote speaker. Yong is a distinguished professor in the School of Education at the University of Kansas and professor in educational leadership at Melbourne Graduate School of Education in Australia. He has received numerous awards and has been recognized as one of the most influential education scholars. He has published over 100 articles and 30 books that focus on the implications of globalization and technology on education. Please join me in welcoming Yong Zhao. Yong, please take it away.
Thank you, Sandra. First of all, I really want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to interact with so many people. I know I cannot see you, so it feels like, I don't know, some kind of a TV host. I feel like I'm talking to a lot of people, but I don't know who I'm talking to. So please feel free to type in your questions or comments or reactions to the session. Kara and Sandra will help facilitate the discussion. Second of all, I just want to hope everybody is well, because COVID has been here for more than a year and a half, and who knows how long it will last. It's been very strange time, but who is there to say that human beings cannot have strange times like this? We had worse times like this. So it's bad, but I hope everybody has a good perspective on this. This is a significant time. And today, my interest is really to share with you my observations of COVID, honestly, is to say COVID and education. What happens, where do we go from here, and what kind of education we can have? And, over the last year and a half, I've had a lot of interactions with educational systems, with school leaders, with technology leaders, with students, with teachers from really literally all over the world. Because I'm also part of a TV show we call Silver Lining for Learning, which we run every Saturday. We've been running that for 77 episodes. So we've had a lot of interactions. And of course, every week I do some kind of webinars, presentations with people and working with different schools. So what I was thinking about is this is a very tragic human moment, but this is also a good moment. The tragedy has given us new possibilities. And so what are the new possibilities in education? Because right now in education, I think after the COVID, everybody's rushing back to schools. And the federal government, and actually many governments, are focusing on the wrong thing in education. I think education faces the opportunity, a very rare opportunity, and this rare opportunity can go away quite quickly. The opportunity for transformation, for rethinking about education. I know many of you as technology leaders, as curriculum leaders, as online system management or suppliers, understand the power of technology. And today, 2021, we're talking about very entirely different technologies. And COVID-19 has done something amazing, that it has forced all schools, all teachers, all students, all parents to consider, to experience remote learning. That has not happened before. The remote learning schools have tried, of course, are in many ways not well designed, not well prepared, because many of us are forced to do that, which actually changes a lot of things. Number one, it changes how we think about education. Education has been blamed as a systems that cannot change. But you look today, teachers changed, school leaders changed, students changed. So let's not just treat the COVID remote learning as something we're eager to cast away, eager to throw away. Many schools, many education systems, many states, many politicians are talking about, let's go back to normal. Let's go back to normal. Let's go back to school. And we treat school as the best thing we've ever had. But that's not true. That's not true. Education was not great. We knew that. But why do you want to go back to the normal? So let's think about that. So the first thing, when teachers, when schools were able to offer remote learning, I know some schools didn't do a lot of remote learning. A very few schools insisted on in-person learning, but they still at least had to entertain the possibility of online and remote learning. And online remote learning has been part of the experiment. So why do we want to go back? Instead of capitalizing on the innovative spirit, on the innovation, no matter how bad that innovation was, it is an innovation, it's a transforming. We had schools without having people learning together, stuck in the same classroom. Now that is amazing. That amazing thing is being ignored. So today, I would like to really invite all of us to consider what I wrote in the title is called Learners Without Borders. Can we imagine our students to learn outside the classroom, outside their school, outside the curriculum? Because that's the only way we're really going to have a different and better education. So a few months ago, I wrote an article. The article is called Build Back Better. This is not necessarily the Joe Biden's plan, but the main idea is how to avoid the learning loss trap. I think many schools today are asked, what do your students lose in reading, in math? Many education leaders want to use standardized testing to measure what a student lose. And there's money, there's funding to recover, to help you recover that learning loss. So that's why we are eager to get back to school. We want to recover. We want to say, okay, let's regain that loss. So in this article, I've analyzed that. It's basically a huge mistake to focus on something called the learning loss for a number of reasons. First of all, as I joke about it, if you didn't gain anything, how do you lose it? If you have nothing in your pocket, you can't lose it. If you never gain anything, how do you lose? But there's a lot of reports. And unfortunately, many of the reports are simply opinion pieces and all guesses. They use guesses. What did we lose? What did you lose? It's not. There's no loss. If you don't have it, how can you lose it? Secondly, about the learning loss, even if students did not learn as much, the loss is much more than reading or math, much more than reading and math. They might have lost in many, many other areas. But at the same time, they might have gained something. They might have gained something. My interaction with the students in different school districts showed me that many students have learned to become more resilient. They have a different understanding of what education can be. They can learn from some teachers, but they can learn from YouTube. They can learn from MOOCs, massively open online courses. They can learn from students and teachers in other countries. They have learned to become more resourceful. And also we know that students during this process have developed different understanding of schools, that they do not have to be together, I mean, physically together with their peers, with their teachers to learn. They also understand that actually teachers' instruction is not necessarily the only way of learning. They can learn from many other resources. So my view is this: instead of forcing schools to focus on the so-called learning loss in math and reading, we need to meet where students are. We should avoid any kind of standardized testing. It doesn't help. With or without testing, we know what students have been hurt. We know which students are being left behind. Because if you ask some school districts, they can tell you their students never lost anything. Their students might have gained something. But if you ask other districts, the students have lost more. Well, I shouldn't say lost more. Students have not experienced or gained as much. That's because we have a traditional problems. But another issue we need to think about, I hope you can focus on this. This is from Edutopia from last year. They wrote about why are some kids thriving during remote learning. Before we rush back, we need to think about, does remote learning work at all? Right now, we treat it as the enemy. We treat it as something we got to get rid of. We treat it as something not good enough. Therefore, when we rush back to schools, we're not focusing much on what remote learning can do. But there are a lot of children who thrived during remote learning. The students, for example, who are being bullied in school physically all the time, they suddenly discovered they're free of those bullies. All the students who feel they needed more time to learn something, to respond to something, they had more freedom. They had more time to do that. Or perhaps those students who feel like shy in class, they didn't want to participate in person, but they can do so online. Or maybe students who have developed other abilities than what schools require, and suddenly they can do different kind of homework, they can turn different kind of work. We have students who thrived during remote learning. This is beside all the other students who might have adapted to it. But remember, this online remote learning was not well designed. We were forced to turn into remote learning, online learning in a few weeks, in a month, and we had to do that. But we have students who thrived. We have students who enjoyed it. So instead of trying to focus on the learning loss, can we rethink about students who thrive? Teachers might have thrived. So let's not only focus on the negative, let's think about the positive, because it's significant to think about education before COVID-19. Over at least 30 years, American education has been in reforms for a long time. A lot of politicians have tried many ways to change schools. You might remember No Child Left Behind, which is now, oh my God, 20 years. 20 years now. We had a lot of money. Remember, we had some program called Reading First. We had to force teachers to get highly qualified teachers. We try to provide remediation, and we try to make sure we can swap school principals if their schools don't show the adequate yearly progress, the AYP, all those. We had all state standardized testing. We had all state standardized curriculum. Then we have the Common Core. Then we had the race to the top. Then we had Obama, new law. It's following the same thing. And at the same time, we have increased access to technology. 1996, 1995, at that time we called the internet the information superhighway. We're driving to make sure that every 5 or 6 students had access to an internet connected computer. And now we do. We have actually perhaps students having got 3 or 4 more devices. We have done a lot of educational research. We've done all of this. But do you think education has improved over the last 20 or 30 years? It has not. It has not. In terms of NAEP math scores, for example, I just pull this data out. You see, 2019 compared to 2005 in many years, there's not much change. There's not much change. There's not much change in the NAEP rating scores. We actually say drops. We're below what we had before. And then look at the achievement gaps. Have we helped the poor kids, the disadvantaged kids, African-American kids? We have not. Education reforms over the last 30 years, the big changes, all this investment, all the disruption to schools. We changed the curriculum. We tried to change teachers. We changed testing. We changed a lot. We disrupted American education, but we've made American education worse. Worse. Because now we're standardized testing students all the time. We have many states who have a law who prevent children from being promoted at 3rd grade if their rating does not meet their proficiency level. Retention is perhaps one of the most effective ways to make sure children never graduate and make sure they fail. I'm not saying that reading is not important, but there are different ways to read. There are different ways to read. So we have to think about why have not education improved? This is the great time. Remote learning, online learning has reached a very different time. Access to devices, we've given out millions of devices to students during COVID. We prepared our students to experience remote learning, but we got to go back to the bigger issues. What educational changes do we need in post-COVID? Here are some of the things I believe we need to change. I hope you can read some questions. First of all, before COVID, we were battling the issue of equity. We're battling the issue of students who were on the other side of economic, income. We've been trying to help groups of students who cannot seem to reach the same level as their peers. That has failed. You know why we have failed that? A big issue is the lack of students' involvement, lack of students' agency, lack of students as owners of their own learning. In all these reforms, we have involved everybody in making the reforms: parents, business people, politicians, even educators, technology people, in designing all these innovative approaches, testing. But it has not changed. We changed, again, curriculum, we changed teachers, and hopefully pedagogy. We changed the assessment, the 3 most important things, but we forgot students are the key. Just think about this in terms of learning. Who is there to learn? Students. Students are the learners, but when they come to school, we deprive them of the opportunity to learn on their own. When they come to school, we deprive students of their agency. We have everything arranged for them. We have arranged everything for students. You come to school, you go to which class, at what time, you do what homework, you take what test, then boom, as if that's the thing. This is like, throwing everybody into doing, I don't know, a baseball game. Not everybody is good at baseball. Some are. The majority may not be good at that. So schools, in many ways, traditionally have done that. And then the second thing is that we have a big problem. We want schools to solve social problems. Poverty, disadvantaged kids. We know that got of poverty. They're from disadvantaged families and backgrounds and communities. That's a huge social problem. When students come to our school, we cannot solve the social problem, but we can mitigate. But the mitigation is not what we've been trying to do. Right now, when students come to school, we have something called kindergarten readiness test. I was looking at the data, just 26 or 30 states have laws about that. Kindergarten readiness. That's kind of stupid. You want kindergarten to be ready for kids. Kids don't get ready for kindergarten. Why do you do that? Children come to our school as they are. There is really no way for so-called poor kids to catch up to their counterparts in suburban, wealthier conditions, because those kids are not going to wait. They have the advantage. They're going to push on. The only way to do is have individual students to seek different approaches to learning, to seek different education, instead of being forced to do the same thing. And also in our Since No Child Left Behind, we have broadened the opportunity gap by trying to close the achievement gap. The achievement gap, even though the definition may be broad, but practically it's really testing in literacy and numeracy. If students are missing that, we kept giving them more remediation. We retain them. We try to make sure they know they are really bad. Instead of getting our children, no matter which condition they're from, every child has strength. Every child has hope. Instead of capitalizing on our children's strength and hope and carve a new possible unique approach for that child, we impose the same thing on all our children. So our change, we need to go back to revisit. It's not just simple personalization. It is trying to make sure every child enjoys coming to school. They want to come to school. School becomes the opportunity for them. Many schools has had to cut out dancing, music, art, even recess for reading and math. A lot of our poor children, that's their only opportunity to be exposed to that. Their parents do not have the money to buy tutoring in music, in dancing, in art outside school. If schools cut them, boom, we've wasted a lot of our children. Also, schools have mistreated a lot of their children. We talk about, oh, our teachers don't have high hopes. It's not about high hopes. It is about our children are intentional learners. They have agency. They want to learn something meaningful, something relevant to their life. They want to pursue something to their own life. This is why the first thing we need to change is to recognize our learners, our students are intentional human beings. Can we, as teachers, as school leaders, to focus more on our children instead of the testing of the curriculum? The growth of our children is a lot more important than a simple curriculum. Can we redesign our schools to do that? We also need to think about students not only as owners of their own learning, but also as really partners to design the whole change. They should own the whole school together with adults. They should participate in managing the learning context, technology, curriculum, extracurriculum, staffing, courses. Can we enable our students to do all of that? Remote learning provides that opportunity. I've been advising schools to say, maybe your school shouldn't run for 5 days. Not all students should be required to 5 days. Maybe they can come here for 3.5 days, 4 days. They can go learn in the community. They can go learn online, interact with people in other states, in other schools, in other countries. They can learn from different teachers, but they should also be organizing of the local learning. We need communities. Students need to come together. But when they come together, do they have to listen to one teacher instructing them when that instruction is available online? Probably not. They need to change how they think about learning. So here are some of the things I've been suggesting. I wrote a book recently with Michael Wehmeyer at the University of Kansas. It's called Teaching Students to Become Self-Determined Learners. That is, can we have students to become self-determined? Self-determination can come from politics. We call every people has a right to self-determination. You have the autonomy. You can decide what your future can be. It also comes from psychology, the self-determined theory. That is, if a person wants to be successful, prosperous, wants to thrive, wants to engage in the moment of flow, they need autonomy, they need mastery, they need relationship. They need the autonomy to decide what they're learning, at least co-decide with adults, parents, and teachers to say, what would you want to learn and why? And when you want to learn that, how do you want to demonstrate your abilities? Now, our schools don't have that. We have standards. We have curriculum. We make you the same. Second thing was students, they want a sense of mastery. That is, they feel they have the control of their learning, that they can improve, that they can master this. Do we have that? Do we give students the opportunity to decide, if I put more time, I can feel better. If I spend this time, I can do better. Do they have that control? No, they don't. In our schools, the system decides. Every few years we adjust the scores, the cut scores. Are you professional or not? We change the test. Really, in many ways, our students have no control. Lastly, self-determined theory, students need relationship. Every one of us, during our growing up times, we had, I bet you, 1 or 2 people, teachers, who have really built a relationship with us. They somehow loved you. They somehow cared about you. They somehow asked you a question about your life, not necessarily related to the courses. Can we help students to have the autonomy, to have mastery, and to have a relationship with others? This is how do we help our students set up their own goals, how to achieve their goals. Technology helps a lot. We got to get students to be responsible for their own learning. They can create their own learning environments. They can connect, they can build resources, they can collaborate with our teachers. They wrote another book, which really was trying to drive the idea called Reach for Greatness. What does it mean, reach for greatness? Right now, we have the same curriculum for all students. Basically, nobody gets to become great. Everybody can be good. Those students who are really fitting for the curriculum, they get good, they get test scores, they get SAT, they go to high-end universities like Yale, Harvard, and Princeton. Those who fail drop out of high school. And even those students, the best students, they are somebody would call them excellent sheep. They're a sheep. They got 5 stars, they got great scores, but then they all want to go to finance and, want to go study them. They waste their resources. They can do a lot more. They can be much more than just attending a college. The poor students, they may be poor in school subject, in what school offered them, but they can be great in their own ways. In this book, I've written a lot. Just a very simple example is that I am really bad at many things. I'm really bad at math, for example. You may be surprised a Chinese guy can be bad at math, but I am really bad at math. I got a 3 out of 100 in my college entrance exam in China. That's why I studied English, because when I was chosen to study English, math is not required. But then I discovered another guy who did very good, who was really bad at math, was Jack Ma. Many of you may not know this guy. He founded the largest online company called Alibaba in China. He got a 1 out of 100 in math. During the same year, we took the test the same year, 1981. So that was, as a large company, a technology company, you got someone who's really bad at math. He was good at English too. How did that happen? We got to look at our children. They have something great. And that greatness can grow into something amazing. So in this book, I really wrote about how can each and every individual become the best they can be in the best way they can be in their own way. Reach for greatness. Can we inspire every student to aspire to become great? Right now, we got all these charter schools, private schools, we got all kinds of schools trying to say, yes, I can get you to be great at testing. I can get you to great to learn this. You actually can force people to become better at what they can. But you want to say, is it valuable? For example, you can try to teach me to be better at football. I can play football. Actually, I cannot, but you can teach me. But why would I want to learn? Why would I want to be learned? How many Chinese have you seen on the football field? I don't think I have any chance. You don't see how tall I am, but I have no chance. I have a chance to be crushed on the field. But so I choose to do what I'm good at. Can you help every child to find out what they're good at, what they're passionate about, and where they want to go, and develop that? I know we have state standardized testing, standard curriculum. Can we try to ignore them? Can we get students to do what they would like to do? Can we support students to pursue their unique abilities? And can we combine their uniqueness with their passion? Today, technology is changing so fast. We got artificial intelligence on the verge. We got all this internet, all internet of everything connected. We got globalization coming to us. There are really no jobs waiting for our children. So when you say, oh, get our children ready for the future, we know that's a lie. We cannot get our children ready for the future because there's no static future waiting for them. No one has created a future for our children. They are the creators of the future. At best, we help our children to be prepared to create a better future. I hope that happens. Your retirement and my retirement are dependent on our children's ability to create a better future. We want the future to be more prosperous, to be more peaceful. Are we prepare our children for that purpose? Would have to say, actually, for that reason, I would say, today's education, we have failed. We focus too much on math and reading. Look at today. America's divided. The world is divided. We're not together as humanity. We have not taught how to be a human, how to debate, how to argue, how to fight for your justice, how to fight for your own life and other people's lives. So what I would propose, we need to find a way to remove the borders. This is my newest book, just published last month. Can we create learners without borders? Can our students not be controlled by 12 years, by their age, by their classroom, by their teachers, by their curriculum, by the curriculum standards, by the testing? Instead, they are independent learners. So I want to summarize this because I want to get some questions for you to think about. I got a lot of things prepared, but I'm not going to talk about all of this because none of these things matter. So I want to say this. What do we really need in the future? You know, we've been talking a lot about 21st century skills. We talk about the 4 C's, the 5 C's, 10 C's, you know, all of those. What do we need in the new age? Is the creative, the entrepreneurial, and globally minded. We also need them to be diverse and unique and happy. So this is what I've created a term. I don't like this word college and career readiness because you can't be ready for so many colleges. Different colleges have different requirements. Different majors have different requirements. There are jobs that have not been invented. You can't be. It's impossible. What you need is individual greatness. That's what I want to be. So my new term is called out of your parents' basement readiness. We want to help our children to gain the ability to be financially independent, psychologically independent, and socially independent, so they can live independently without having come back to live in your basement. That is not about college. That is about being unique. So being unique and great not only helps you regain value in the society, but also helps you become great. So you want to become unique human talents that relies on 3 T's from this book from Daniel Coyle. He's talking about you need talent, time, and good teaching. Talent means what you're good at. Time is how much time you spend with 10,000 hours, 11,000 hours, 12,000 hours, but spend on something you have talent with. We can teach everyone to swim, but you cannot teach everyone to become Michael Phelps. You can teach everyone to paint, but you cannot teach everyone to become a Picasso. Every uniqueness needs to spend time with your natural born talent. And of course, we need good teaching. But if you have time, you have talent, time, good teaching. And then if you create value for others, that makes you feel good. This is Abraham Maslow says, if you're a musician, if you're uniquely talented in music, you want to be a musician. You want to be an artist. You want to be able to paint. So all this comes to the idea to say, you want to become happy, you need to rethink about how you create value for others. So basically, I want to say today, financial independence means can you create value for other people? With or without a job, you know, you can freelance, you can do that. And also, when you realize your own value, when you translate your uniqueness into something valuable for others, you are happy. You're authentically happy. That's what we want. So this is what I think ultimately education can be, is you want everyone to be great and unique, and capitalize on their passion and use creativity and entrepreneurial thinking to create something valuable for others. And this is what I would like to say, 3 basic principles of the future education. That is, you can personalize. Everybody has their own personalized pathways, and you want to make sure your learning is product oriented. Students are solving problems worth solving all the time and globally connected. Now you can think from that angle, what can technology do? How can technology help? So I would imagine every school should go back. Let's not rush everything back to school. Can we connect globally? Can we create learning communities globally? Our students can learn from anyone globally, can learn with anyone as partners globally. They can also learn for anyone globally with today's technology. So that's what I would like to invite all of us to think. Post-COVID, we need to rethink about schools. We need to rethink about opening technology up, combined with the local communities, create unique opportunities to help every student to thrive in their own way. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Hi, Dr. Zhao. Thank you so much. We've had several comments that your talk has resonated and that there's a lot of agreement and a lot of kudos. So thank you again. There is one question that I think we have time for. I was wondering if you believe the US was better at education before we went off track with No Child Left Behind focus on assessment. Are there other areas of the world that are better at enabling student self-determination in education?
Not really. I think right now, there's a lot of talk, a lot of words, self-determination, student voice, student choice. I don't think anyone as a system has truly advanced to the level to have students own their own learning, to have students become partners of change, to have them think about what education can be. I'm sorry that my slides did not advance, but I just want to show you the slides I've just showed. I'm sorry, I thought it was advancing. So this is the article I was talking about, Build Back Better. And so this is the article. I hope if you have a chance, you can read it on my website. And this is an article from Edutopia, talk about why are some kids thriving during the pandemic and remote learning. This shows the data of how education has not changed, improved over the past 30 years. And this is the data achievement gap is not being closed. And now this is the article I wrote about what we need to change. So this is what I was thinking about, where education can go. You can again find the article. We made it open available. This is another article I wrote a long time ago about change partners. And also the book I was mentioning about teaching students to become self-determined learners. And another book I wrote is called Reach for Greatness, and also Learners Without Borders. But the final thing I was going to show you, this is significant for you to think about, is the idea of human talent has to be based on what you're born with. And so then also about how uniqueness can translate into something valuable and make human beings happy. And finally, this is what I think education should be. You create unique greatness, passion, and then they create something valuable. And then finally, I was talking about personalization, product-oriented, and globally connected. So that's why I'm sorry it was not advanced. If you want the slides, I'll be happy to send a copy to Sandra, everybody. I have a lot of slides. I got about 69 slides. So I'm just choosing to pick some of the stuff to do. It's a huge file. And so thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Zhao. That was very inspiring. We really appreciate you joining us today. To all of our attendees that want to share this, review this recording, again, you'll be able to download the recording in about an hour after the session ends. We encourage you to join some of the other sessions that we've got scheduled for today and throughout the week, and hope that everyone has a great conference. And again, Dr. Zhao, thank you so very much.